Hello and welcome to another episode at You Reinvent. And first of all, a very, very happy new year to you and your loved ones. A very happy new year to you, Jaba. And thank you for joining us. I truly hope and pray that 2021 brings hope, faith, and life back into our lives. If there's one thing which 2020 has taught us is that most of our lives, most of what happens around us is beyond our control. And yet, the whole pursuit of life is to move forward, one step at a time. And how do you do that? It requires a certain amount of vision to set a goal. It requires planning to, work through that goal. And it requires a certain behavior change, a lifestyle change to achieve that goal. And this is what we'll be talking in the next couple of sessions. But today, I have with me Jaba Sen Menon, who will take us through how to set goals. Now, just to share a little bit about the exemplary career and work that Jaba has done, she has led people, businesses, and brands for over 32 years. And, that's most of us have not even worked that long and, done anything productive so far. So, and in those 32 years, she has worked with organizations like McCann, Ericsson, Publicis, One World International, and was a founding management board member of Centum Learning, a Bharti Group company. She passionately addresses issues around waste of human potential and brings a diverse experience to coaching new leaders, seeking individuals, and facilitating programs for clients in over 16 countries. She also continues to evolve as a mother of a 24-year-old daughter and draws upon her personal journey of transformation and spiritual practice to support clients discover their own spark and achieve their life goals. Joba, I cannot thank you enough. It's truly my honor that you agreed to come here. I know that I'm a small fish in this entire video making and YouTube business, but my desire is earnest. I want to kind of bring out valuable content for people and for myself, honestly. So thank you so much for joining. Um, I want to begin with, asking you a very maybe a broad generic question that we all know that goals are important, and for most of us, goal setting becomes like you just write it a to-do list on, I will accomplish this at the end of the year. And then by the fifth or the eighth or the 10th, it fizzles out. So, what's your experience? Since you said that you talk about waste of human potential, then I thought this was the best, kind of topic to talk to you. What do you have to say there?
Thank you so much, Shikha. Firstly, for having me on this program. It's my privilege and honor to be talking to you today on this topic. A very happy new year to you, and a very happy new year to everyone who is watching this program. And to also, I want to thank you for the generous introduction that you shared about me and also gave away my age because you cannot work for 30 years
Yeah,
unless you attain a certain age. So I'm quite proud of my age, no
I
problem
know.
about
Yeah,
that. But
yeah,
all I'm saying is that, you can only attain slowly and
right.
gradually if you happen to be at the right place at the right time. Sometimes it is just that it's not planned.
Correct.
And goal setting is also a part of that journey.
Hmm.
Forever we are setting goals, and
Right.
that's a perennial journey.
Exactly.
However, I would like to start with a quote
Mm-hmm.
which brings me to a point that you just said that life is. I was taking notes while you were speaking. So you said that we are often witnessing situations which are far beyond our control.
Right, right, right.
Excuse me for that alarm going off. Okay, so I will read the quote. It says, how are you adapting and approaching your next reinvention curve?
Hmm.
And when I heard the word reinvention and when I read the quote, it looked absolutely appropriate for
Appropriate.
your reinvent forum.
Yes, yes.
So, yes, forever we are in transition.
Correct.
And therefore, the question, about goals.
Mm-hmm.
So, what exactly is the first start point that you would like to begin with
Mm-hmm.
in this area of goal setting? Could you please ask that?
Sure. And I'm sure this happens to a lot of us, not just me. We set a goal, let's say health. I'm going to start walking 5 miles January 1st. And we're all passionate about it. We've bought the Nike shoes, we have the Nike, track pants and everything, and we probably have a pedometer also. And yet, I know there's a lot of behavior aspect to it. But today I want to just talk about, is there more to just that goal setting? Is there something that we can do when we are setting that goal that I'm going to walk 5 miles tomorrow morning for the rest of my life? What do we do more than just writing that down? How do we get started on our journey of walking 5 miles? So, or why do our goals fizzle out? You know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, although you may not walk 5 miles, but you do something during the day,
Correct.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to divide your time into
Mm-hmm.
different zones, you will find that you end up doing four kinds of tasks.
Right. Right.
So that I don't get mixed up in the patterns, let
Mm-hmm.
me just refer to my notes.
Right. Sure. Sure.
There
Sure.
are some urgent and important tasks that you attend to.
Mm-hmm.
They are both urgent and important.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings to mind my crisis tasks, really. It
Correct.
has to be attended to there and then.
Mm-hmm.
There is no chance. There is one other task that you also attend to, which is not really urgent, but important to you.
Mm.
Those could be, can you guess what it could be?
Something like walking 5 miles. It's not urgent, but it's important.
It is important.
Right.
And that is the what is urgent, what is not urgent, and yet important.
Needs to be done. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just said it, that it's the goals. The other two are obviously distractions,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like scrolling through our phone 24 by 7.
I know. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
do it 24 by 7.
Correct.
So they are neither urgent nor important.
And yet takes
And there
away.
is one more kind of, and it takes away a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you do it and yet don't do, let's say, 20 minutes of meditation or 5 miles of 5 kilometers of a walk,
Mm-hmm.
but you could do that all day. And
Correct.
the other kind of tasks also that we attend to
Mm-hmm.
are, which are urgent but not really important.
Mm.
That is also one kind of task, which are constant interruptions, because if somebody calls on you, it
Yeah.
may not be important,
Mm.
but you have to attend to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can divide your time
Mm. Mm.
between all these tasks that you do, put them into 4 blocks, you will find, as you said, something which is not urgent,
Mm-hmm.
but
Important. Yeah.
automatically becomes your goal. And
Right.
now the question that you asked is some characteristics of goal setting. But before we get there, let's
Mm-hmm.
understand why don't we often, because New Year is just the right time. You picked up the
Yeah.
topic at a very opportune time.
Mm-hmm.
January and 1st
Yeah.
of January and
Everybody
resolutions
sets
and
goals.
goals
Mm-hmm.
are the buzzword.
Correct.
But the
Correct.
fact is, you still don't manage to attain beyond the 10th of Jan, as you said.
Yeah.
And why does it happen in the first
Yeah.
place?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some guesses about that, which I can hear from you, and then maybe I can add a couple of them as to why do goals fizzle out?
So, this is again something which, again, my personal experience for the last couple of months, and I will talk about this in maybe the subsequent sessions. My guess is that, we, first of all, set very lofty goals for ourselves, which is fine, but we forget that it's a it there is a step 1, step 2, step 3, and that step that we had defined for ourselves. I mean, for someone like me, I have a very, very sedentary lifestyle. I get up and since I have a young daughter, there's something to be done with her, and so all of that is done, and then I start working, and I work until 7 o'clock in the evening. I'm not saying that I am a workaholic and therefore I have no time for workout and something, but that's how I thought I did, right? And I was like, if I walk, then I cannot work. That was my mindset. But I changed it to, how about I just change into my workout clothes and go down and just take 2 rounds. My goal is not 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers. No, my goal is walk every day. That's it. And so we forget that it's a journey. We forget that it will take time, because if you walk 5 kilometers one day, and it's going to start aching, and for sure you will not do the next day because it's hurting you. So we have to build on it, and like Hal Elrod, he's this Miracle Morning, he has that book, he talks about that you build it and then scale it. And that's where I think that most of us go wrong. That like, okay, 5 kilometers tomorrow, and consistently I will continue to do 5 kilometers. It's not possible. So we forget those tiny, you know steps that we need to take, is my experience. So what do you say?
Your experience is very valid.
Mm-hmm.
And again, answers your own question partly.
Correct.
One of the reasons you said was lofty goal. I wrote that down again. So lofty goal is not always a realistic goal.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes loftier
Mm-hmm.
than being real. Does not therefore see a real outcome.
Correct.
Which you can feel, which you can hear, which you can see, which is important for setting a goal while setting a goal.
Mm-hmm.
So also parallelly sharing one criteria of setting a goal, that the goal has to be real, where you can actually see the real outcome. The second thing that you mentioned was step by step. I heard the word steps. And what it brought to my mind was planning. Again, the word realistic is important there. How realistic is my plan? Have I taken into account the distraction, the interruption, the crisis? Have I budgeted for it consciously?
Yeah.
Then it's a realistic plan.
Correct.
And the third thing that you said, which was perhaps the most important or the foundation, you felt if you did this, this might suffer. So I can hear a hidden competing commitment.
Correct.
Do you realize that what is your hidden competing commitment, which is subconsciously working on your mind and not allowing you to stick to your plan? And without being good at implementing a realistic plan, it is almost impossible to achieve an outcome which is long term or a goal.
Right. Very important. Yeah. Very insightful.
So other than this, yes. And other than this, there are a couple of other reasons which comes in the way of attaining a goal. What could be those? Do my goals resonate with my values?
Interesting, because most of the times you're following somebody else. So.
Yes, it cannot be somebody else's goal. It cannot be somebody else's expectations. That's not a goal. Even as a child, if I keep a goal which is not my goal, but because my parents want me to do it, later on it could be my friends influencing that goal. It could be my peers influencing that goal. It could be my supervisor influencing that goal. That's not really a goal. That's a task, which still appears with what you started, which is the task. But it's not really my goal. It's not an outcome that I want to see. So if it does not resonate with my values, it's likely to fizzle out by the 10th of Jan, like you said.
Yeah. You're right. I think I hadn't thought about it that at all, because, we just think that, if I have decided, or if I've kind of set my mind to it, I should be able to work through it. But we kind of don't deconstruct it or dissect it, that is this truly what I want? And, just because the next person is doing it, I shouldn't be doing it because of that. So very, very valid. That
So
brings me, yeah, go ahead, please go ahead.
you used the word should, so I wanted to bring your attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the word should is a no-no from goals.
Yes, 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 yes.
Do you think you should do it, or do you really want to do it?
Correct.
Do you choose to do it,
Mm-hmm.
or is somewhere in your mind you believe that you should be doing it? Very hard,
Very, very,
really
yeah,
hard
yeah,
to meet a goal which comes from the place of should.
should. In fact, it's not related, but because you brought it up, it's valuable. I was talking to someone who's a counselor, and we were just discussing how you should, um, we as parents, we always feel that we have to teach our child this, we have to teach our child that, and it just somehow we assume the role of that, we know everything and we're going to then pass it on. And she made a very important observation, and she said that when you're talking to a child, or when you're trying to share anything with your child, shoulds are out of the window. There is no should. And that's because, again, it may or may not resonate with the child. That logic may not resonate with the child, so you have to kind of, the child has a personality, so you have to meet him or her halfway to see what is workable, versus you should do this because mommy said so. And that's not happening. So very, very valid. Thank you for pointing that out. It's
Yeah, so I think what you were pointing to was Marshall Rosenberg, who is
mm,
the founder of nonviolent
non-violent.
communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he speaks about it very strongly, and I'm paraphrasing that.
Mm-hmm.
That firstly, when we consider a child, the word child itself has a sort of a negative connotation, if I may say so.
Mm-hmm.
Do I respect the adult in the child?
Correct.
Respect will come from a place of equals.
Equals, yes. And
It's very hard in our cultural
yes,
conditioning, which we have been through for years. It is very difficult to imagine that we should not impose the shoulds on our child, because that's, he or she is just a child.
correct. Yeah, you should just do what I tell her. I know better.
Exactly. So to unlearn a couple of
Mm.
things that we have learned since school days is no doubt tough.
It is.
But that brings us to the first point that you asked. So, what could help?
Mm.
So, if the should energy does not help,
Mm.
what would help the
What happened?
most
Mm-hmm.
is if we could articulate in our mind, how do I feel
Mm-hmm.
if I think I have already achieved the goal?
Mm-hmm.
Our feelings, our emotions, how will the goal add value to my life?
Mm.
How will the attainment of this goal make me feel? If it makes me feel indifferent, I don't even know whether I want to set it.
What a word. Mm-hmm.
But if
Yeah.
that goal makes me really energized, if it makes me feel really energized and excited, maybe it's worth even considering that goal or the outcome.
Right.
So, one of the most important exercises that we could do even in a session is
Mm-hmm.
to the process of visualization. Doesn't have to be a, when I talk about a session, doesn't have to be a formal structured session,
Mm-hmm.
but visualization is a great means to keep us started on the goal. If you
Mm.
could just visualize
Mm.
the impact on us, on our emotions, on our feelings
Right.
after we have achieved the goal. That visualization has the power to make it actually
Actually
experience it in
happen.
our mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as we know that everything that we do happens twice in our life, once in our dreams, once in our mind, and then in reality. So the power of visualization is immense. So
Right.
the goal setting can start with that. What will
Mm.
I feel like how will I feel if I was to attain the goal? It could start, that could be my
Starting point, yeah.
And if it doesn't feel, as I said, if it doesn't energize me, not worth keeping it.
Not worth keeping it. So I think the
criteria.
first question, one of the reasons and is also why it fizzles out is because we don't ask this question, is this what I truly want for myself, or is it somebody else's goal? That's the first question you need to ask yourself before even you put it down that I want to do this. Jaba, this is a gold mine, this conversation, thank you so much.
And brings us back to values.
Yes.
Do I really value it?
Value it.
If it resonates with my values, then let us consider it.
Right. Cool. So we have done some pre-work. We have, asked ourselves some hard-hitting questions. We have identified that, okay, this is something I truly want for myself. At some point, you mentioned when I was sharing my experience that, we are divided between our subconscious commitments, which we may imagine to be equally important, or it's either or in our heads, so it's either work or it's a walk. It cannot be both because it compromises, and this is something, this is slightly off the the sort of structure that we had discussed, but I wanted to just bring it up. Do you think our own limiting beliefs that kind of get into the way of this visualization? And when I say, again, I will take my own example. So for example, I've always been overweight. That's what I've thought, that I've always overweight. And when I look at my pictures 20 years back, and I'm like, oh, it wasn't that bad. But that in my head, I've always felt like that. And I almost felt like, I can never lose weight. To hell with it, it's not even a goal. I'm not even considering it. And until now, when I thought, okay, what, forget it. I'm at an age where I should at least walk for my health. Forget about the weight. Because I have a young child, I have to be healthy and agile and, available for her. So let me do it for that. And that kind of resonated for me. So losing weight and feeling slim and trim and sexy wasn't, like you said, it wasn't my value. My value was health. But it was misplaced. So do you have any thoughts there, or, any deeper understanding there?
Let me deconstruct that for you.
Sure, please.
One of the prime examples that you gave, and very easy for all of us to relate to. I want to lose weight. A goal or an outcome can never be in the negative. Our brain doesn't process it.
Interesting.
It always has to be written in what you want to do, not what you want to lose. So I don't want to do this. I don't want to procrastinate is not a goal.
Is not a goal. Okay. Interesting.
I want to act on time is a goal.
Is a goal.
Because our mind cannot process. If you, taking this simple example without going into the biology, which is not my area of expertise, when we tell a child, don't go there, all that the child does is go there.
Is go there. Yes. Right.
So therefore, the goal setting can never be in a negative statement about what you won't do. It always has to be what you will do. So when you say that, okay, I will be healthy, that's the first step towards when I deconstruct that works.
Mind-blowing. This is, I mean, again, one of those things which we have heard, but this is all scattered information. So we don't put it together. Amazing.
Exactly. So almost it's like a criteria for setting a goal.
Correct.
So the first criteria we talked about was it has to resonate with your values. There can't be another way.
Mm-hmm.
The second one that we discovered during our conversation is that it has to be stated in an affirmative, in a positive statement, what you will do, not focused on what you won't do.
What you won't do.
The third,
Mm-hmm.
I'm borrowing now from Lisa LaHaye is her name,
Okay.
and I'm borrowing her theory of immunity to change approach. So the first thing, a self-improvement goal that you said was, now considering your daughter, you want to be a healthy mother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the next step, doing what she says.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order to be a healthy mother, what do you decide to do? I'm again borrowing from your example.
Mm-hmm.
Go for a walk for 5 kilometers every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going back to a principle of goal setting,
Mm-hmm.
bite-sized goals.
Correct.
If you have not stepped out of the house,
Mm-hmm.
going for a 5 kilometer walk is not happening.
It's not happening. Mm-hmm.
So, can I step out of the house and, just like you said, take 2 rounds of my apartments? Is that a possibility? Great.
Yeah.
Because then I pat my back saying I did it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you refer to steps or action planning, breaking my goal into sub goals and setting bite-sized
goals
is absolutely important, so that you don't beat yourself up every day.
Yeah.
Saying, I'm not doing it. I'm not good enough to do it. I don't have discipline. I don't have that.
Yeah.
This inner chatter will not allow you to fulfill your goal.
Do it, actually. Yeah. Right.
But this inner chatter, oh, I did it, is a great motivation to move ahead, to achieve what you want to achieve.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay. So
always a bite-sized goal. Yeah.
Right.
And ask me. I wanted to complete the cycle of the immunity to change approach. But if you have a burning question, please ask me.
No. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So I was talking about this hidden competing commitment. Now, for years, though you wanted to do this, perhaps, if you want to be healthy, you want to take the 5 kilometer walk, what could be coming in the way is something that you value deeply, which doesn't allow you to do it. It could simply be what you said earlier, considering if you didn't have a daughter, your fitness goal may constantly clash with, I don't want to, competing with all the size zero women in the world. Yeah. That's not my area of interest. That is not at all a part of my identity.
Right.
I'm just good enough as I am. I don't have any disease for which I take a medicine every day. So there are enough justifications in your head which says that you don't have to commit to this goal.
Commit to this goal, yeah.
And most important is, what is your assumption that being fit, being healthy is not equal to a size zero kind of physical frame, which perhaps you don't even realize that is one of your big assumptions.
Correct. Yes.
That fitness
is not
health has little to do with weight.
Weight, yes. Right.
So if that's going on and you don't recognize it, it will perhaps not allow the limiting belief that you said. I don't want to use the word limiting belief here, but the big assumption that you may have is that health has nothing to do with weight, unless you're obese, and I'm not obese.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
So
you're right.
it's
This is where probably, all the information that we gather from external sources kind of feeds our supposedly feeds our beliefs, and we start to believe that external identity as our own, and which is, it goes back to the first point that you mentioned, that first question yourself, that is this truly what I want, and what do you want out of it, so great. um sure. So are we done with the criteria part of it? Like, is there more to how to set the pre-work of the setting the goal, or filtering the goal, I would say, you know
okay. So as we are coming to also, uh, we have another 5 or 7 minutes.
hmm
So without going into too much details, the steps that come to my mind is
hmm
very simple. It has to be balanced. It has to be a balanced goal, because the
hmm
goal that I keep has to work not just with me, but with everyone around me. So, is it a goal
hmm
that is a balanced goal? Have, will it not clash with my daughter's interest, with my family's interest, with my work interest, and so on and so forth?
right, right.
Because if the goal is not balanced
Mm.
and if it is feeding only my need, it's
Yeah,
likely to fizzle out before we have got started.
correct. Yes, important. And probably
The
that's
other
the reason most of them fizzle out, because we have not taken into account all those, for the, it's not the right word, but I want to call it distraction for now, because it is taking you away from what you had set. But
Exactly. So while we set it, we did not think
account
whether
for,
it was a logically balanced goal.
right. Good. So, besides, there is a lot of pre-work that one has to do to, to be able to set the goals. But is there something more that one has to do, or is there a sort of a method to set the goal itself? We've talked about the work that one has to do before we actually pen down something. But what do we do once I have penned it down? Is there some method which can at least make it possible for me to achieve it?
So we know the formula of SMART goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So besides doing because there are many acronyms actually,
Correct.
SMART is one of them. But
Right.
since the SMART is the popular one, I'm
Popular
using the
one.
popular
Mm-hmm.
instead of bringing in a new acronym.
Uh-huh.
So then the concept of, once we have worked enough on setting the goal itself,
Mm-hmm.
then the concept of SMART goal really kicks in.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And if we look at the steps for the SMART goals
Mm-hmm.
and really follow it, and we
Mm-hmm.
know what S stands for, which
Yeah.
is specific.
Specific. Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about specific, then we really have to see whether it is specific enough. For example, there is no point in writing my goal
Mm-hmm. Mm.
saying, I want to go slow this year.
Mm. Right.
So the language
Mm-hmm.
has to be scrutinized enough. Or,
Mm-hmm.
I really want peace this year.
Mm.
Is that a goal? Or, I want to be a more lovable mother this year.
Mm. Yeah.
So such goals are also set by people.
Yeah.
And when you ask them, what's your goal? They come up with such statements.
Mm.
So the first criteria to see whether it is a goal or not
Mm.
is it specific enough for
Yeah.
you to
Mm.
realize whether you have achieved the goal or not?
Mm-hmm.
Serious, a
Mm-hmm.
SMART goal. And the next one, the M stands for measurable.
Measurable. Mm-hmm.
So as we say, something that cannot be measured
Mm.
cannot be met.
Mm.
So how do you measure?
How will you measure that you're on the right track? So
you're on the right track.
mm-hmm.
The A stands for achievable.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if I set a goal for which I don't have any skills and I set a goal to achieve it in the next 6 months or 1 year, would I be able to do that? Do I have the wherewithal that is important to achieve the goal? So that's what is the term achievable all about.
Does it relate to what you mentioned earlier, bite-sized goals? It's similar.
I would not really attribute this one to bite-sized goal. Bite-sized goals is all about planning.
Okay.
And you want, and also being it relates more to the next one, which is the goal realistic?
Realistic.
Yes. So bite-sized goals is more to be not just with being realistic. Realistic can be interpreted in various ways. For example, I set a goal of buying a house this year, which actually depends on my father lending me X amount of money. That's not really a goal because it doesn't, I don't have complete control over it.
Yeah.
So it's very important to see whether I have 100% control over my goal.
Yeah.
The outcome that I want to see has to be a function of what I can do about it. It can't be linked to whether I'll get a bank loan, whether my father will be able to give me that money. It cannot be linked to that.
Right.
So that's setting a realistic goal. Yeah, you're saying something.
Yeah, no, I was just saying because ultimately you'll have to work towards it. So you have to account for the work that you will do to, attain those that goal.
One, that. Two, brings me to your starting point. If you add uncontrollables to your, if you add the element of the things that you don't control, very unlikely that you will actually attain your goal.
Right. Beautiful.
And the next thing, obviously, we know that it is not really a goal if it is not time bound.
Right.
So there's got to be some timelines.
Correct.
And even the timelines have got to be realistic.
Right.
Taking my entire, again, I have to see the balance. I have to see what else might come in the way. How much time do I have? That even the timeline has got several elements to it while I'm deciding on the timelines.
Right. Perfect.
And always very, very important when we are setting timelines to again take all the tasks that we started with in the beginning to attend all of them, because you're not operating in isolation.
Yeah.
So yes, I think these are certain steps that we take, but ultimately it depends on one thing. Are you ready to do it every day? Is it energizing enough for you?
Yeah.
So patience and perseverance and purpose.
Yeah.
The 3 P's are extremely important. Your patience, your perseverance, and your purpose. Why are you doing it?
Yeah. Otherwise, like we discussed earlier, that if you've not set your heart to it, and or if it doesn't really belong in your heart, it will fizzle out. So perfect. One last question before we kind of close. We've talked about the pre-work that we need to actually. That was very important. That even before we set the goal, you have to ask these 5 questions, which I will kind of summarize for our viewers. And put out a note so that they can use it. But would you say that since most of the content that I prepare is catered towards parents and how they kind of interact with their children, so can parents use a similar methodology with their children, let's say teenager children, and who are in the class 10th, 12th, and or maybe beyond that, the same method can be used with them? what would you want to say? Add something there, like some do's and don'ts for the parents of how to go about that.
I think, irrespective of the age group, the
Mm-hmm.
framework does not change.
Doesn't change. Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
what changes is the architecture.
Mm-hmm.
What changes is the language
Mm.
in which we are communicating.
Mm.
Obviously, I will not, if I was doing the same, if I was discussing the same topic with a set of school children,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps I would say the same thing, but give different examples, use a
Mm.
different word.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
So I think it is the foundation or the principles
Mm-hmm.
of setting a goal and attaining a goal.
That remains the
Setting an outcome and attaining an outcome does
mm.
not change.
Mm-hmm.
What changes is perhaps the architecture.
Right.
What changes is perhaps the language,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but the principles remain the same.
Principles remain the same. Perfect. Cool. So with that, you know, I honestly, I think like I have not prepared this content for somebody else. I've prepared it for myself. I have learned so much today, and I think I will be able to apply a lot of what you said to me for some of the goals that I have set for myself, and kind of rethink them. Of why I put them there and how I will go forward in trying to attain them. Uh, Before we close, I want to kind of how do I put it? If let's say some of our parents or people who are watching this want to get in touch with you to help them set their goals, or for their organization, or for their school, or even for their child, is that possible? Can they approach you to do that?
Of course,
Okay.
they just need to write to me
Okay.
at contact@jabamenon.coach.
Okay.
And
I
I
will.
would be very
Okay.
happy.
Mm,
Yeah, I would be very happy to
right.
partner them in their journey of setting goals and attaining their goals. Absolutely. It would be my pleasure to do so.
Perfect. Great. I will share that email ID when I put the video out, so that if somebody wants, they can write to you. And Java, like I said earlier, also, I cannot thank you enough. This was truly a gold mine, and I wish you all the best in how you are kind of sparking life into people's life going forward. And thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to talk to you. This was truly a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much
Thank you.
for your kind words.
Thank you.
And Shikha, in this profession, the number of times I speak to somebody about it, I'm actually teaching my own self and reiterating the
Yes,
same principles to myself.
yourself. Yes, yes.
So we are all partnering each other in this journey.
Right, right,
And if we can truly see ourselves as accountability partners,
right.
as learning buddies,
Yes, yes.
I think we would all be in a better place than we
Ultimate
currently
benefits.
are.
Yes, yes.
So
Thank you
thank
so
you
much.
very much for this opportunity. I truly treasure it. And it was absolutely a delight speaking to you, Shikha. And
Thank you.
wish you all the best in the journey that you have undertaken, which is so laudable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.